Coming up, dreaming big. The kids creating their very own superhero comic strips.
Summer is a mermaid and she pushes back the water with her tail. She has claws, night vision, she's fast, and she's sneaky.
Well, my superhero is a villain.
We've got the inspiring story of how it all started. Plus, Nashville Zoo's newest stars.
They're extremely playful on Habitat. You'll see them jumping around with each other, wrestling each other. You'll see them following mom and jumping on mom.
We'll meet the zoo's cuddly, adorable, and quite rare Sumatran tiger cubs. Also, this week's pop quiz, time to brush up on what you know about America's national parks. And the high school band that stepped into the national spotlight to support the greatest team in college hockey.
This is NBC Nightly News Kids Edition.
Welcome back to Nightly News Kids Edition. I'm Lester Holt. It's great to be with you. Today we're going someplace really special, Broadway. Our Nightly News Kids reporter hits the red carpet to preview an exciting new musical called SUFFs. SUFFs tells the story of the 1913 women's movement led by the suffragists. Those were women who fought for and won the right to vote in America. And with the weather warming up and summer on its way, a lot of us are thinking about getting back to the beach or into the pool. Ahead of that, though, May is Swim Safety Month, and our friend NBC meteorologist Dylan Dreyer has some important tips for staying safe while you're having fun in the water.
In the summer, when it gets hot, there's nothing more refreshing than a cool dip.
Being in the water, it feels like I'm in space. The weirdest thing about swimming is doing freestyle and swimming like a mermaid underwater.
So how do you make sure to stay safe while splashing? Here are our top tips. Make sure you always have a grown-up watching you while you're swimming, even when there's a lifeguard around. Go swimming with a friend, have a buddy in the water, and look out for each other. Follow signs on water safety. Don't go swimming if you see a closed sign. Use a Coast Guard approved life vest if you're not a strong swimmer. Most importantly, learn how to swim.
Swim lessons are our strongest tools as parents to make sure that kids can remain safe around the water.
Really, I just like to swim. I learned how to swim so I can get refreshed and cool.
I love swimming because it's really fun and I get to play in the water.
I learned about how to make bubbles underwater and bubbles with your nose and with your mouth.
The best way to float and stay buoyant is to not get tense, but to be calm, to be relaxed, and that comes from experience and knowing what to do.
When it comes to swimming in rivers, lakes, and oceans, remember to watch out for tides and currents. Sometimes it's hard to see where the water can pull you around. And don't swim too far out. Stay close to shore so people can see where you are.
Make sure there's a lifeguard on duty, and you want to swim as close as possible to a lifeguard. Keep an eye on you. You want to swim parallel to shore and get out of that little area where the rip currents are. If they're not that good a swimmer, I suggest staying no deeper than your waist.
But what if you found you floated out farther than you wanted?
Don't jump off your boogie board and panic and try to swim in. Just stay on that boogie board or any flotation device that you have, and you're much better off than trying to swim in on your own.
It's also good to stay healthy while swimming. Don't drink the water you're swimming in. At the pool, shower before you get in the water. Dry off properly after a swim, including your ears. And if you're swimming outside, don't forget about wearing sunscreen.
You need to apply it and wait 15 minutes before you get into the water or into the sun because you need your skin to absorb the sunblock, and you need to reapply it every 2 hours because it does wear off.
Tips to make sure your summer goes swimmingly with a waterful time.
Okay, Dylan, thanks for bringing us that story. Well, from the water to the ice, and one college hockey team that asked a high school pep band to come support them for the year's biggest matchups. And boy, oh boy, did the band bring the energy. Hallie Jackson with that story.
This, the thrilling moment the University of Denver men's hockey team won their 10th national championship. Their secret weapon, the soundtrack in the stands. Minnesota's Edina Hornets, a high school pep band. The squad stepping up because Denver doesn't have a band of its own. So the team's athletic director, Josh Burlow, connected with Edina's band director, Andy Richter.
Andy, tell me about getting that call.
It was exciting. It was an opportunity that I just could not pass up for our students.
1, 2, ready, go!
But with less than 2 weeks to the Frozen Four, time was running out.
They were scanning sheet music and emailing it to them and asking them to learn the University of Denver fight song. Boy, did they ever deliver.
Talk about the challenge, Andy. I mean, you didn't even know the fight song.
Well, luckily the fight song is kind of short, and so the kids really latched onto it really fast and were able to learn it.
So these 24 high schoolers suddenly in the national spotlight for the last 2 games of the season.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, this is a college event and we're high schoolers playing it.
Talk to us about the spirit that they brought to the game.
They brought so much energy and really inspired our team. They were part of an incredible moment.
A slap shot with Denver's team so grateful they took out this full-page ad in a local Minnesota paper to say thanks.
It was just electric and so much fun to be able to look at the fire in the students' eyes, and they were cheering on as if they were the college band for Denver.
What does this say about the power of good sportsmanship?
Sports and music came together here. It really had an element that makes something special and brought folks together and generated a ton of smiles, and smiles are important.
All right, Howie, thanks very much. Time now for our pop quiz. The question this week, what is the largest U.S. national park? A, Yosemite, B, Yellowstone, or C, Wrangell St. Elias? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. The answer is C, Wrangell St. Elias. Located in Alaska at 13.2 million acres, Wrangell St. Elias National Park and Preserve is larger than Yellowstone National Park, Yosemite National Park, and, by the way, Switzerland combined. Wrangell St. Elias is a place of wild extremes. The national park spans 4 major mountain ranges and has some of the highest peaks in the U.S., including Mount St. Elias, standing at 18,008 feet. Well, there's a brand new musical on Broadway with a powerful message. It's called SUFFs, and it tells the story of how women had to fight for the right to vote and how the group called suffragists changed the course of history. Our Nightly News Kids reporter Carolyn was at opening night to speak with some of the stars and a few special guests.
I want my mother to know I was here.
A new Broadway musical is marching onto the stage, and it's all about the ladies. SUFFs tells the remarkable story of the 1913 women's movement. So first things first, what exactly is a SUFF? Well, it's short for suffragist, somebody who advocates for the right to vote for a group of people who can't vote. Did you know women in America weren't allowed to vote in national elections until 1920? And barriers to voting made it difficult for women of color to vote until the 1965 Voting Rights Act. To tell the lesser-known story of the 1913 women's movement, SUFFs has assembled an incredible group of artists, on stage and behind the scenes, and is co-produced by Hillary Clinton and Malala Yousafzai. I'm here at the opening night of SUFF Musical on Broadway. Let's check it out. Wow. Congratulations, this is your Broadway debut. How are you feeling?
I am so excited, and I'm thrilled to be associated with this amazing show because it tells an important story from our history, but it's as relevant today as it was, more than 100 years ago when the action takes place. So I'm hoping that as many people as possible see it and are inspired by it, because I sure am.
This
musical is so entertaining. I love all the characters. I would say my favorite character is Woodrow Wilson because he is hilarious. Yes. I know, but and you learn so much about, what people thought at the time about women's right to vote. But we still hear those kind of excuses even in this time. But it reminds us that we should not give up against those challenges, and we should keep fighting.
SUFFS is set in the 1900s, but the fight for women's voting rights had begun over 75 years earlier by names you probably know, like Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. The musical gives a voice to important leaders in the 1913 women's movement that you might not have heard of, like Alice Paul, Ida B. Wells, Carrie Chapman Catt, Inez Milholland, and so many more. The SUFFS were the first group to protest in front of the White House. They crossed the nation in trains and cars to spread the word, and some were even put in jail, all because they were fighting for women's equality and the right to vote. SUFFS stars Shayna Taub as Alice Paul, a fearless champion of the fight for women's equality. Not only does she star in the show, she also wrote the music, lyrics, and book for the musical, working on the project for nearly 10 years with producer Rachel Sussman. And the hard work has paid off with 6 Tony nominations this year.
What message do you want to say to every loud little girl watching this?
The world can be difficult and tough, but our voices matter, and we should stand up for what we believe in and work together with our friends to fight for change.
Fighting for that change on stage is a diverse cast of all female actors, directed by Tony-nominated Lee Silverman.
What was it like directing a cast of all women?
Oh, it was a dream. Are you kidding? It just seemed like the right choice for this story, and even though we have male characters in the show, it felt like women should play those parts. I think that they will be more interesting, they will be rendered in a more interesting way, and so to me it's historic to have a company like this on a Broadway stage.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. What I think about when I'm playing Woodrow Wilson is I just imagine what it would be like to just be blissfully confident and to walk into a room and expect respect and deference from all the people around me without having to work for or earn it. And I'll say as Grace, I don't know what that's like. So it takes a little imagination to get there.
What I really hope is that future generations can see a path forward. When I was a kid, I had never seen anybody like me on Broadway. I'd never seen anybody like me in a movie, and it opens up the possibilities of what we can do, not just like as performers, but also that, kids with disabilities can see me and think, oh, I also can protest and I can be in a musical, or I can go do whatever my dreams are because the world is open to me. I really hope that happens.
This show is about community, it's about friendships, it's about people really working together, but it's also about people who have different points of view, who maybe have different strategies, also having conflict, and then also repair.
And I even had the chance to go backstage and check out this special celebrity green room, also packed with women's history, like this Votes for Women teacup, created by Alva Belmont, a wealthy champion of the women's suffrage movement who sent these teacups home with her guests as a reminder of the cause. As an activist for democracy and voting rights with my organization, the Yellow Roses, this musical made me realize that so many other people are inspired by the courageous stories of women's history. There's a line from the musical that says, "I feel a part of something bigger than me." This is exactly how I felt when I saw SUFF, and I know many other folks will too. And to wrap it up, I asked the SUFF's team for some advice for us kids.
Can we do a fill in the blank?
Yes.
Now is the next time for young people in America to
stand up and fight. Write their own books.
Raise their voice. Keep it raised, keep it loud.
Get out and vote.
Vote. If you're 18, vote.
So true.
Please vote.
And read books.
Believe in themselves and go change the world.
For Nightly News Kids Edition, I'm Carolyn. Back to you, Lester.
Okay, now time for our picture of the week. Take a look at this. We usually only see groundhogs on Groundhog's Day each February, but here's one that came out to say hi to one class in Minnesota and locked eyes with this student, Rory, from Mrs. Segar's class at Notre Dame Academy in Minnetonka. Thanks for sharing this moment with us, Rory. It's terrific. Well, now to the most adorable new stars at the Nashville Zoo. A little while back, remember we showed you the baby goats who were having a ball there. Well, now we want to say hello to the latest bundles of joy.
At the Nashville Zoo, these Sumatran tiger cubs have made their public debut.
So we have 3 tiger cubs that were born back in October 2023. We had 1 male and 2 females born. Right now, they're probably about over 50 pounds. Their names are Zara, Bulan, and Kirana. And they've been doing great. They've been growing up very well with mom. And they've been on habitat recently. So if you wanted to come by the zoo and look at them, you could see them bouncing around, having the best time of their lives. They will be with their mom for up until about 2 years of age. They have completed nursing though.
The zoo says each day the cubs are getting more comfortable in their new habitat.
They're extremely playful on habitat. You'll see them jumping around with each other, wrestling each other. You'll see them following mom and jumping on mom.
And they're already showing their unique personalities.
Bulan, who's our male, he's very adventurous. He likes going out and being the first one to explore anything and everything, whether we give him enrichment items. He's the first one to approach it and start playing with these items. He's also been the first one to go out on habitat and really explore his surroundings. Zara, who's one of our females, she's a little bit more hesitant, but she does take the lead from her big brother. So you will see her following Bulan around a lot on habitat. And Kirana, she's more reserved. So if Bulan and Zara are going out and exploring things or exploring enrichment items, you'll see her following as the third wheel.
Sumatran tigers are the smallest of their tiger species. The Sumatran tiger stripes are closer together and its fur is darker orange than other species. In the wild, this allows it to blend into its tropical rainforest habitat. And did you know there's something tigers and house cats have in common?
They do what is called a phlegm response. So if you see them on habitat and they're scrunching up their little face, they're pretty much just smelling their environment. They do have an organ that's on the upper part of the roof of their mouth in which they use to smell different items or different things in their environment, which could be smells from another cat, smells from their mom. We do switch out the habitat with their father. So if they're smelling dad, they will, do this response where they scrunch up their little face. It's really cute when you see it. General house cats will have that same type of reaction.
The Sumatran tigers in the wild is at a critical level.
Sumatran tigers are considered endangered. There's only about 400 to 600 of them left in the wild. So each birth that we have every year is extremely vital for the conservation of this species.
A crucial step for the future of Sumatran tigers.
This is the future generation of tigers in captivity in human care. And we participate what is called with the species survival plan that helps to ensure genetically diverse tiger population under our human care. So they are going to be the next ones to foster litters of their own.
Erin McLaughlin, thanks for bringing us that story, and we'll be sure to keep an eye on how the cubs are growing up. Well, have you ever wanted to be a superhero in a comic book? Well, kids at one school are now getting the chance to create their very own comic strip stories with artwork and characters they dreamed up. It's a chance to let their imaginations run wild and have a little fun. And it all started thanks to a brave little boy named Christopher. Our friend Laura Jarrett has the inspiring story.
Okay. Good morning.
At Public School 27 in Paterson, New Jersey.
How many people last week had a chance to start drawing their comic strip?
Students are letting their imaginations fly off the page.
Then you're going to write in your letters in capital letters.
Christopher's Comic Book Inspirations is an arts program that provides students with all the tools they need to design their own comic strips. From heroes with magical powers.
Summer is a mermaid and she pushes back the water with her tail.
To villains with evil backstories.
Well, my superhero is a villain because one day this man got on her nerves and she wanted to just destroy the whole world.
And everything in between.
She has claws, night vision, she's fast, and she's sneaky. She's like a surfing board, and it's like she floats on water. He's gonna fix the world, then he's gonna be the hero, and then he's gonna have a news article about him.
These students creating universes of their very own, and it all started with one young boy's dream.
Christopher, he had such super imaginative, loved to draw, loved to write stories, wrote his own stories. His main character was Ultimate Man, and once he got electrocuted, he could fly, he could help people, he could save the day. And he was so into it that he even took his comics and sold them on the front lawn like kids do with lemonade stands.
Sadly, Christopher was first diagnosed with leukemia at just 3 years old. After bravely fighting the illness, the 9-year-old passed away in 2007, his spirit living on through the Christopher Barron Live Life Foundation.
Christopher had a love for comics, and so his mother, took that and extended it to an opportunity for children who maybe aren't dealing with a health issue, but dealing with other, pressures or not having as much joy in their lives. That's what you want to do here. You want to give it more room.
Students are mentored by Alex Simmons, a professional writer who has written for Archie and DC Comics.
So many kids are like, I don't know how to draw. So Alex would say to them, characters are shapes, and then he would teach them how to use squares, circles, and triangles to create characters. And so there was so much in the beginning, I don't know how. And by the end, it's 6 or 7 weeks, they tell us all that they can do.
It's about children realizing that I can come up with an idea, and if I set a plan and see it through, I can manifest something. And that's a pattern or a formula that can work in their lives on so many other levels.
Once the class has completed their 4 strip panels, their comics are compiled into an anthology, making these students published comic book authors at a very young age. And for kids at home who feel inspired to create comics of their own, the team had some words of advice.
Draw freely, don't stress about it. Think about ideas in your mind and just go on with it. Just use your imagination, it's gonna work. Just think of something like Superman or like Iron Man of how they got their superpowers, and then try to make it like with your character and with a name, and then it'll turn out to be good.
Do not judge your art or your skill. You're starting out, just go for it. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. But starting out, just have fun, just play. You're allowed to play without any judgment. The more you practice, the better you'll get. Background's not as important as the words in your comic strip, okay? Okay, thank you.
Inspiring a new generation of artists and writers, and honoring the legacy of a real-life hero.
I think he would love the fact that kids get to be kids, especially in schools today. And I love the fact that schools continue to invite us in. You see, we're here during the day. This isn't an after-school program. This program gives them a chance to just be a kid and play and explore. And that was my son.
Thanks to Laura for that. And parents, just a reminder, if your child has a question about any topic in the news, email a video to us at NightlyNewsKids@NBCUni.com, and we'll try to answer them in an upcoming episode. You can also follow us on Instagram @NightlyKids. Thanks for watching, everyone. Remember to take care of yourself and each other. So long.